Previously on the Skip and Josh podcast.
And interesting, so they, who don't do a sports show, used a sporting event to determine whose name would go first.
Right.
And we who do a sports show, we use science to determine how we would have.
Well, I don't
whose
know
name
if we
first.
use science. Did we use science?
No, I basically just said you can go first.
The Skip and Josh podcast is on now.
Hello?
Skippy,
Hey, Cub. What's up?
how are you?
I'm great. Great.
You're a world traveler. You just got back and you're leaving again.
Yeah, I'm actually heading to Barcelona tomorrow, which is a little bit scary given that's there's some bad stuff going on in Barcelona this past week.
But actually, now's the best time to go.
Right, because obviously nothing's going to happen there again because there's
Right.
crazy security, right? That's what
Right.
I keep telling myself. So,
And are you going to get to see a soccer match while you're there?
very doubtful.
Okay.
I often say I'm going to go to a sporting event, when I go on these trips, like I've told you so many times, and I pretty much
And you-
never do.
You pretty much never do.
No, pretty much. So, we'll see. I doubt it.
Well, when I was there, I went to visit the stadium. There wasn't any game at the time because the season wasn't happening. So,
Right.
but I did see the stadium. Anyway, so what do you want to talk about today?
I have a list of things. A few months ago, we kind of met up and we decided, we're going to try to focus the show, right? Every episode, we're going to make more episodes, maybe a little bit shorter, and maybe we're going to try to focus on one subject, which most of the time we've stuck to that, right? We've done baseball episodes, and episodes about specific things. But we're in baseball terminology, we're in the dog days of summer, right? So there's only one sport being played right now.
Well,
Which
one
is-
that anyone cares about. You don't want to break down the Alouettes Argonauts game from the past weekend that I went to?
You can not really. How was it though? Was it fun or?
It was fun to go. Jamie's son is 4.
Yeah.
And in the first quarter, he said to his dad, "This is long and boring."
Right.
That was the first quarter.
Right.
We lasted 3 quarters, which was a quarter more than I thought we would.
Yeah, you just keep buying your kid food and then you should be okay.
Yeah.
Keep him busy. So, back to the topic of what we were, back to the content of the episode. So we try to focus it on one subject, but, like I said, we're in the dog days of summer now. So it's kind of hard to stick to one topic. I think in the coming weeks we will, with NFL kind of starting and, hockey also going to start soon. So I have a list of little things that I think, why don't I just read these off to you one by one? And you tell me if these are worth talking about or not worth talking about. And if you don't think you want to talk about it, we're just going to skip them. We'll call them useless.
I have a list as well, so we can
Yeah.
when we're done with yours, we'll go to mine depending on how long we've been talking.
Okay, perfect.
Because remember, our listeners don't have that much of an attention span.
Well, yeah, you might be right about that. So, the biggest news in sports happened yesterday, which was Kyrie Irving being traded to the Celtics.
He got traded?
You have a sports podcast and you don't know what's going on in the world?
Yes, I know he got traded. I just wanted to see your reaction.
You really fooled me because people don't realize that in the lead up to this, I asked Josh a very specific question that I should have known the answer to, and
Yes,
it was a bit embarrassing.
You asked me who's the commissioner of the NFL.
I just forgot his name.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, yes, there was a big trade, and so let me start off by saying that I'm not going to add anything intelligent to any commentary that's already been said about this trade. So go ahead.
Okay, so like I said, if you don't want to talk about it, we don't need.
Oh no, I do want to talk
Yeah.
about it, but I'm not going to add anything intelligent. I'll add things,
Right.
but they won't be intelligent things. For example, here's what I'll add. So I haven't spoken to you since this trade went down,
Right.
and so I'm thinking in my head, oh man, Kyrie Irving got traded to the Celtics. So I'm thinking, Kyrie Irving is a Dookie, and you're a big Duke fan, and you're also a big Celtics fan.
Yeah.
So you must be thrilled about this trade.
Well, Look, first of all, Kyrie Irving is barely a Dookie.
He played 11 games.
Yeah, exactly. So, I used to say that the one and dones I didn't consider them Dookies. Even Elton Brand, who played 2 years, I didn't even want to consider him a Dookie at the time. Mm-hmm. But now, like, everybody's a one and done, right? So you got to roll with the times. I'm happy. I think the Celtics made a great trade. It's a very interesting trade in that this coming season is not going to tell you whether the trade was good or not, because I think the Celtics realize they can't win until LeBron is gone or older. They have to get past LeBron, which is still a big deal in the East. So it might not be this year, and maybe it's going to be next year. There's a lot of rumors that LeBron's going to leave Cleveland next year, and a lot of strong rumors about him going to the Lakers. So if LeBron is completely out of the East in 2 years, maybe this is when this trade will benefit most. But I mean, certainly the Celtics got a great player in Kyrie Irving. I think they gave up a player in Isaiah Thomas that they really didn't want. They traded for him for nothing a few years ago. He had a huge year, and he's going to soon get paid huge bucks for having his huge year. And I think they realized, like a lot of people did, it was plain to see that in the playoffs, he's pretty easy to stop because he's so little, right? Mm-hmm. So he's a little bit easier than you think. He's a little bit too easy to defend just because of his size, and he dominates the ball, right? So like the ball's in his hand all the time, and if he's not scoring, last year they were finished. They realized they needed to add more offense, which they've done by getting Gordon Hayward and then drafting Jason Tatum, and now they've swapped Kyrie for Isaiah Thomas. So Kyrie's much more complete player than Isaiah.
Although I saw some stats yesterday, their stats were quite similar last season.
Of course, of course they're quite similar, but don't forget, like Kyrie's put up basically those numbers all the time, and Isaiah hasn't, right? That's like, can Isaiah duplicate that? I don't think so,
Okay.
And the regular season is just a regular season. Like I'm saying, in the playoffs where everything is like examined and where matchups become really important, Isaiah was a little bit too easy to defend, and he was a huge liability on the defensive end, right? Because he's so small. Like that series against the Wizards, the Celtics almost lost basically because they couldn't rebound, because it was always 5 against 4 in terms of rebounding because Isaiah Thomas is completely useless. So as soon as the other team sends their point guard to try to get rebounds, the Celtics are finished. Anyways, that's like a little bit of strategy, X's and O's there.
You just said that because you want to play the song again when you do the editing of the show.
Yes, and I will play it right now. So the Cavs' point of view is interesting because I don't know how comfortable they are in the fact that LeBron's coming back after this year. And I think that draft pick that the Celtics gave, which is the Nets pick, which could easily be, top 5 pick.
Marvin Bagley from Duke.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's hard to say. Look, it's hard to say who it's going to be, but I mean, certainly a high pick is usually a good pick. And I think they're thinking, maybe they're going to end up rebuilding, and it's going to be around that pick. So I think overall good trade for both teams. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, look, I think the Celtics are better than last year with this trade. I think the Cavs are worse than last year with this trade. And the draft pick is the most important thing there, for the Cavs. So
I like your analysis, and here's what I'm going to say.
Okay.
It's not very dissimilar from what you just said. I don't think there's going to be much difference in this coming season. Mm-hmm. I think the top 2 teams in the East are going to be Cleveland and Boston, and whether they finish 1-2 or 2-1 doesn't really matter.
Right.
I think they'll end up playing each other in the conference finals, and likely Cleveland will go to the finals because they still have LeBron, and he's still great.
That's so true. LeBron is still LeBron, right?
Yeah. So I don't know that it really helps either team. If the ultimate goal of both teams is to win the championship and beat Golden State, I don't think this puts either team ahead of Golden State.
No, but I think looking at it from the Celtics' point of view, they're looking at it from 2 or 3 years from now, where this nucleus will hopefully still be together. Kyrie, Gordon Hayward, and then Tatum. Right, that'll be their big 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so like I said, this year there won't be much of a difference, and then the draft pick, whoever that ends up being, that could be huge. the Celtics have been stockpiling picks for the last few years.
Right. The Celtics have so many picks that's like they don't know what to do with them. They have to start moving something at this point.
Well,
you know,
it's always good to have picks because
no, of course, but they have so many. You know, it's like it's getting
picks
out of
are
control.
assets, and you need as many assets as you can get.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much all I have to say about the trade. It's going to be, like you said, interesting to see what happens if LeBron stays in Cleveland. The one thing I was surprised about is that if Cleveland is trying to improve their team, which they think they may have, then wouldn't they want to not help a team in their own conference?
And that's what you figured. But I think, the word went out that Kyrie wanted to get traded. And then from what I read, 20 teams were interested. And it seemed so unlikely that they would trade with the Celtics for exactly the reason you said. But I think they got the best return only because of that draft pick.
Well, this better have been the best trade they could have made because any other, all things being equal, you want to get him out of your conference.
Yeah, that's right.
Because you don't want to have to face him.
No. And now they're going to face him probably in crunch time, right?
Exactly.
Playoffs. Yeah.
So I really hope that the offer they got from Boston was much better than any offer they got from anyone else. That's all I hope.
Okay.
But I'll never know.
Do you want to talk about Ezekiel Elliott or not?
Yeah, sure. That's a topic worth talking about.
I mean, like, when
I
all
have
this,
opinions on that.
I know you do. When all this stuff came out, look, I'm the farthest thing from an Ezekiel Elliott fan. I hate the Dallas Cowboys. I wish them losses every week. I hope they go 0-16 every year. But I mean, you mentioned it, I don't know, months back. You had a What Bugs Me about how, and I completely agreed with you because it's something that's been bugging me since the day Roger Goodell took the commissioner's office. The day he started handing out suspensions without just because, like, in the best interest of football, they have this, whatever it is, conduct unbecoming of the league. As soon as he started handing out suspensions like that, it was a slippery slope, right?
Yeah.
Because, Ezekiel Elliott's probably the biggest scumbag on earth. Who knows what happened with him and this girl? No one knows for sure. But the fact of the matter is, the police investigated it and they didn't press charges.
Right.
So, according to the eyes of the law, he didn't do anything wrong. Yet,
He's not guilty.
Yeah, he's not guilty. I shouldn't say he didn't do anything wrong. He's not guilty. But according to Roger Goodell in the NFL, 6 games.
Yeah. So, yes, we don't have to rehash this except for the listeners who didn't listen to one of our first episodes. But I don't think it's up to Roger Goodell or any sports league or any commissioner to hand down punishment for crimes that were committed or allegedly committed
Right.
outside of the field of play.
If he's charged with a crime and found guilty,
Then he should be sentenced to whatever sentence it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if I commit a crime,
I just don't.
my employer isn't going to tell me, well, you're suspended from work for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
If I commit a crime, I'm going to be
In jail.
punished by the law.
Yeah. It's so true. So, I mean, look, I just don't like this whole punitive discipline handing out by the NFL. And the problem is that they screwed it up so many times. Ray Rice is the prime example. Like, they screwed it up so many times that now he's trying to make amends of his past mistakes, right? So he screwed up the Ray Rice thing. So he's like, oh, we better be tough on domestic violence. So sorry, Ezekiel Elliott, you're getting 6 games, so.
Right. Well, so I'm going to take the other side of the coin now for a minute. Mm-hmm. So the NFL, I haven't spoken to Roger Goodell in my life, and I don't know this for a fact, but it appears to me, from what I'm hearing and seeing, is that they're now being overly cautious.
Yeah, exactly.
So in other words, they want to make sure that, you know what, he might be innocent, he might be guilty, we don't know exactly what he did. Yes, there was an investigation by the law, but optically, we need to suspend him so that our sponsors and our fans think that we're a credible organization.
Yeah, but the thing is, any fan who's an intelligent fan of the NFL knows that they're not a credible organization. They're a joke when it comes to the discipline. And, like, Greg Hardy, like the biggest in the NFL, keeps getting re-signed and getting second chances.
Yeah.
Like, there's all kinds of guys that have been in trouble with the law that somehow are not suspended, but yet this case is being made an example of. You
right.
know,
Well, because it's similar to, player salaries. They go up every year. So player suspensions, they go up every year.
I guess maybe that's what it is. Player suspensions go up every year.
And meanwhile, and changing the subject slightly.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
You got all these guys who commit these crimes and they get suspended for 4 games or 6 games or 8 games or whatever it is.
Let me stop you. I know what you're going to say.
Okay.
But then Colin Kaepernick.
Right, who has not committed a crime, need I remind everybody. All he did was kneel for the anthem, which, by the way, I don't even think the anthem should be played before sporting events.
Yeah.
But he kneels for the anthem and causes a fuss, and now he can't get a job.
Right. So the whole league is filled with guys that abuse their wives, girlfriends. I mean, for God's sakes, Ray Lewis was. People still think he actually committed murder, and somehow covered it up. You've got a lot of not such good people in the NFL that are working, and then you have this guy Colin Kaepernick who decided, I'm going to kneel for the anthem because he doesn't like a direction that something that's happening in his country. He's actually trying to make things better, trying to bring awareness. It absolutely boggles my mind. Now, I don't know. Do we know for a fact that Colin Kaepernick's being blackballed? No, we don't. Because the fact of the matter is he wasn't a great quarterback, so I could see maybe where some teams will pass on him. But when you see that some of the backup quarterbacks that teams have right now, and the fact that he doesn't have a job, it doesn't look very good. Honestly, it really doesn't look good.
If you ranked all the quarterbacks in the NFL today...
Yeah. He's one of the 30 best, let me tell you.
Yeah, he might even be better than number 30.
That's what I mean. He's in the top 30.
He's probably between 20 and 25.
The guy was one throw away from winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And there should have been pass interference on that play, and it wasn't called.
Well, that's just because you're a Niners fan.
Yeah. So I'm glad we segued to Kaepernick because I didn't know how much you wanted to talk about him. But then speaking of kneeling for the anthem, so he was shunned and called out for kneeling. And, there's people that are like, oh, he's unpatriotic. He's disrespecting the flag. He's disrespecting the anthem. Do you see what's happening now in the preseason?
Everyone and their dog is kneeling.
Every game, there's people kneeling. I think it was the Giants or the Browns. There was 5 guys kneeling.
Yeah.
And Malcolm Jenkins on the Eagles, he's raising his hand in the air during the anthem. He's not kneeling, but he's showing it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just feel that it's completely, it's completely overblown and so unfair, to Colin Kaepernick, what's happening to him, honestly.
I mean, the only way I can explain it is if he's asking for, let's say Kirk Cousins money.
No, yeah.
Then no, I wouldn't sign him. But if he's just trying to get a job and will take any salary that's offered, then yes, he should have a job now.
Well, I did read an article that said that he was offered backup money and he said no. Because I think he still wants to be a starter.
Okay,
right?
well then now he needs to accept that backup money and prove that he's that he can be a starter.
Yeah, or not. Maybe.
So you got to bite the bullet.
Maybe he's just gonna. That's it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Something that I don't really want to talk about. I don't know if you want to, but Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather.
Well, I don't really want to talk about this because we started anyway. So
just say you want to skip it, and we'll skip it.
It's just that.
Are you gonna watch it?
I hate boxing. I hate MMA.
Right.
And both these guys are idiots. If there was one guy that was at least nice, I could root against the other one. The things that come out of their mouths.
Yeah,
they both should have their heads bashed in, the two of them.
Yeah, so true.
And no, I'm not spending the money to watch it. No chance.
Yeah.
To answer your question.
Well, I know I won't be watching either, but I know my son's going to watch at a friend's. They're going to all 30 kids there. They're going to watch it together. So, will it be entertaining? No, it's probably going to suck. But both of these guys are apparently going to walk away with $100 million.
Yeah, I listen. I would fight in this fight if someone's going to give me $100 million. I'd be out in 3 seconds.
Yeah.
But I'd get my $100 million. Now, if I were going to bet on the fight, I know that Mayweather is heavily favored.
Yeah.
But I would bet on McGregor only because if you bet $100 on Mayweather and you win, what do you win? 110?
Yeah. You're not with the
Whereas
odds
if you bet 100 on McGregor and you win, I think you win 1,000, right?
Yeah. Well, like now
So-
we're turning into like, this is funny because now we're turning into like the degenerate gambler segment.
Yeah.
But
That's fine.
we don't gamble, which is so weird, right? We don't gamble.
Not really,
but,
no.
But we talk about it. So yeah, I think the value is on McGregor, right? There's no value in taking Mayweather if you're betting.
And that would explain why I think 93% of people who have bet in Vegas
Yeah.
have bet on McGregor.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to watch, so whatever.
No.
Are you entering any fantasy football leagues this year?
I don't know. I haven't been invited to one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really want to run one myself. There's going to be at our office, we're going to have an office pool, but that's not the same.
Okay.
So right now, I don't know. I mean, the season's starting very soon. And
Yeah.
if I were going to be in one, I'd probably need to start preparing today.
Right.
What about you?
I'm in ones that they were drafting on September 3rd. It's like a father-son league with
Oh.
with our Philly correspondent Mark
Okay.
and his kids and some Philly people.
Okay.
So, and me and Matthew each have our own team. So we'll see how it goes.
So you're not playing against your son. You're with him.
No, against him.
You're playing against Matthew?
Yeah, we're each gonna have our own team.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Mark
Okay.
has one team. His boys have their own teams.
Okay, cool.
So I'll probably give you some updates about the draft and maybe some, I don't know.
Okay.
We'll see. Fantasy football, I think, is interesting to me and you when we're in it and we talk about it, but not always so much for listeners.
Right,
so.
right. And listen, I'll set up that website. We'll make our picks for the games every week, and we'll see how bad we are.
Yeah, we'll do our picks against the spread from the beginning of the year this year. Last year,
Yeah.
I think we didn't start right away. So
No, I think we start in week 6 or 7 or something.
that's everything on my list.
Okay.
Other than
have-
I wanted to tell you that I went to a celebrity wedding.
What's a celebrity wedding?
It was a wedding of celebrities.
Do I know these celebrities?
No, there wasn't a wedding of celebrities, but there was some well-known. I felt like I was in the big time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, who was there?
So
Can
my
you
wife's
say?
cousin got married,
Okay.
and she married a guy. I don't want to say names, so
Don't say names.
she married a guy whose father is a former member of the Canadian Parliament under Jean Chrétien, and he was the minister of, I don't know, minister of justice, minister of something, So, and then he was later, I think, the ambassador from the Canadian ambassador to the United Nations. That was like the big time, right there. And so that was one part. And then one of the guests at the wedding was Nikki Yanofsky, the singer.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
because she's friends.
She once sang the anthem before a Grey Cup game.
Yeah, she's friends with my wife's cousin's family.
Very nice. She also wrote and sang that song. I don't know if she wrote it, but
From
she
the
sang
Olympics.
the song for
Yeah.
the Olympics when
Yeah.
they were in Vancouver.
Yeah, so I
Which,
thought
by the way,
had, like,
wasn't the Olympic song. It was a CTV song, just to clarify.
Okay. Only you would know that. So just to tell you my brush with fame this
Okay.
weekend. Yeah. So what's on your list?
I still have 2 other things, both about baseball.
Okay, let's go for it.
Well, actually, one is not just baseball. One is every sport. So in every sport, even in college sports and high school sports, you have what's called standings, where you can see who the best team in the league is and who the worst team in the league is at any given moment.
I like how you said what's called standings, just in
Right.
case we had to give the Merriam-Webster definition of standings.
Right. Well, you'll understand in a minute.
In England, they call it the table.
Okay, that's fine. Table also makes sense. Yet, for some reason, all these websites, ESPN, TSN, Sportsnet, Fox Sports, NBC Sports, you name it, every single website,
Right?
for some reason, they insist on weekly coming out with these things called power rankings, which bugs me to no end, because why do I need you to tell me
I
that
could
this-
just look at the standings.
that this team is better than that team according to your opinion, when I can just look at the standings and see which team is better than the other one?
Oh, this is your best what bugs me ever.
Seriously, power rankings. Who needs power rankings?
Because you know what it is? It's like one day someone came up with power rankings. Someone was the first one, right?
Yeah.
And the problem is there's no original ideas anymore. Nobody has anything original to say.
Including, by the way, this show. Very unoriginal.
Okay. But I mean, we're just talking. The whole idea about the show is me and you having a conversation.
Right.
right? It's the same stuff we would have talked about, but now we just push record.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, someone came up with power rankings one day, and then another website or TV station decided, hey, those guys are doing power rankings. We better do power rankings. And then word gets around, and then next thing you know, everybody's got power rankings.
There you go. So I just had to get that off my chest.
Serenity now!
So who's number one power rankings for the upcoming NFL season?
I don't even know. I don't know.
Has to be the Patriots, but we'll save that for another time.
I do have something else that's bugging me.
Okay, go for it.
Things that bug me?
And actually, I meant to talk about this last week and I forgot.
Well, last week we didn't really go into like what bugging me stuff, right? So
no, but now we're getting a lot off my chest here. So I get that officials in football and baseball and basketball and hockey, I get that they make mistakes. And I get that players complain about calls all the time and players need to shut up. I get that. But there's one sport where the officials insist on being the star of the show and they antagonize the players and they sort of get them, the officials get the players into these situations where they get themselves thrown out of games.
Now, I don't have to read your mind. I don't have to be a genius to know what you're talking about. You're talking about baseball.
100%. Baseball umpires need to be taught a lesson.
Get out!
They are terrible.
They're the most thin-skinned of all officials. Like you see, like in a hockey game, players are yelling and swearing, and coaches are yelling and swearing at the referee,
and the refs brush it off.
Exactly, like in one ear, out the other.
Well, or they tell them enough, and you better be quiet, otherwise you're getting a penalty, or otherwise you're getting thrown out.
Right.
But in baseball, they get into the argument and they like you say, they antagonize, right?
But they don't even get into the argument. The minute a player opens his mouth, he's tossed from the game. Like, you're allowed to have a conversation.
I saw a play this week. Is this what's prompting this?
No, this actually, I've been meaning to talk about this for almost a month.
Oh, okay,
now,
no, because
I saw there was a play this week.
There was a play this week where Marcus Stroman and Russell Martin got tossed on the same play.
That was the one. That was 2 weeks ago, actually.
All my years of watching baseball, I've never seen that before. It blew my mind.
They had to make a pitching change and bring in a new catcher.
Like, I don't know. Look, Stroman obviously argued balls and strikes. Fine. Whatever. But honestly, Russell Martin threw the ball back. Now, whether he said something that we couldn't see because his mask is on, I don't know. But he could not have said more than 2 words. He couldn't have said very much.
Even if he did, even if he said the worst thing you could possibly imagine, like these umpires, all of them, they insist on being the star of the show.
Yeah.
Like in other sports, when a player gets tossed, he gets tossed and that's it. But the umpire has to make a spectacle of it in baseball.
Are you also thinking about this because of Ian Kinsler?
Oh, I was just going to bring him up. So yes, I'm thrilled about what Ian Kinsler said.
First
of all, he didn't use any profanity. He didn't raise his voice.
He just came out and said, this umpire's no good.
He
right?
gave his opinion. And okay, so he got fined, and some people say he should have also been suspended, and some people say he should have been fined even more. You could argue that till the cows come home. I'm glad he did what he did. I don't know. I don't have all the rankings of all the umpires, at my disposal, but I'm sure there are some that are better than others. And, if you're a player and you suck, you get cut. So if you're an umpire and you suck, you should get cut.
So true. I was very happy that Kinsler stood up for himself because it was the umpire he was questioning was Angel Hernandez, right?
Yeah.
And that guy is you've just painted a picture of this angry old man, yelling at the kids for shooting the ball on their lawn, right? Mm-hmm. That's a major league umpire, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Ian Kinsler basically stood up in front of his locker, with microphones in front of his face and said, this guy is no good and we need better umps and he's no good. Right? That's all he said.
I have to tell you, unfortunately, I don't remember the name of the umpire or the name of the player, but this was when the Expos were still around.
Yeah.
There was an Expo batter in the batter's box.
Right.
And I don't even know what happened, but the batter didn't say a word and the batter didn't even look at the umpire. The umpire stepped out in front of the catcher and started waving his finger at the Expos batter. The umpire started the whole altercation.
Right.
I'll never forget that. I'm like, who are you? You're just an umpire. Nobody comes to the game to see the umpire.
Yeah, because of like one sideways glance.
I don't even know if there was a sideways glance in this particular case.
Wow.
By the way, as bad as Angel Hernandez might be, there's no question that the worst umpire in baseball is C.B. Buckner. I've mentioned him before on our show. He makes mistake after mistake after mistake.
Right.
And there are other, like, I have so many examples. I mean, if you watch any postseason baseball in the last 20 years, which I know you have, there have been some egregious calls, like foul balls that were called fair that were like 5 or 10 feet foul.
Right.
You know, in my opinion, of all the sports, baseball, I think, is the easiest one to officiate because it's the slowest.
Well, maybe not the balls and strikes, but all the rest
Not
of
the
it.
balls and strikes, but anything else.
Yeah, of course.
And yet
Hockey's
they still
moving
get
at a
it
million
wrong.
miles an hour. Football guys, like, they're running like crazy. The ball, like, there's bodies flying, you know? Basketball, guys are jumping 12 feet in the air. You know? Baseball, a ball's rolling on the grass.
It's possible that, I don't know if let's say there's 100 umpires in the majors. I'm just making up a number.
Yeah.
It's possible that they have the best 100 umpires that they could find because the next 100 are probably worse. Who knows?
Yeah, well, then they're in the minors or in college, you know,
Right.
college leagues.
So it's possible that there is nobody better to call up if you let's say cut somebody, which I don't think happens in the middle of the
some of
season.
these guys have been around forever.
Yes, they have.
I mean, it's pathetic.
So whatever. I just wanted to mention that.
Beautiful. I love it.
Hi there, Skip and Josh will be right back. To get in touch with them, you can send them an email to skipandjoshshow@gmail.com. You can follow them on Twitter @skipandjosh, and you can visit their website at www.skipandjosh.com. And now, back to the show.
So I went to the Green Day concert on Friday night.
Nice.
It's my first time. It was my first time at Budweiser Stage, which is an outdoor venue, which used to be called Molson Amphitheater, and I think everyone here still calls it Molson Amphitheater. But anyway, the concert was great. A lot of fun to go. Went with Jamie's wife. She is a huge Green Day fan.
I would have never guessed that about her.
Oh, she's a huge Green Day fan and Weezer fan. And
Wow.
Weezer was also in town this weekend, and we didn't go, but we were considering it.
Wow.
So I haven't seen Green Day in 20 years. And it was a great show. They have a lot of energy, and it was really loud. I needed earplugs. That's how old I am. But what I wanted to tell you is think back to when you used to go to concerts.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So you remember how they always sell T-shirts at every concert, right?
Right.
And then if you go outside the venue after the show, you can get bootleg T-shirts for half the price.
Right.
Now, the quality of the shirt might not be as good. Who knows, whatever. But the point is, if you didn't want to spend X number of dollars, you waited till you got outside and you spent half.
Right. Still happens
But
now. I've been to concerts
it still happens
recently.
now. In fact, it happened on Friday. But my question to you is this. Think back to when you went. How much did the T-shirts cost inside the venue?
Well, it's not so much how much the T-shirts cost; it's how much the tickets cost.
Well, never mind that. But how
Yeah.
much did the T-shirts cost back when you went?
$20?
Right.
18?
Right. So, do you want to guess how much the T-shirts at the Green Day concert
Well,
were?
I mean,
and
I
by
know.
the way, Catfish and the Bottlemen, they were also selling T-shirts, and it was the same exact price as the Green Day T-shirts.
Well, I know more or less how much they are because I've gone to like concerts with my kids. So it's like $40 or $45.
Yeah, $45. That's insane for a
know,
T-shirt.
But think about how much the cost of a concert ticket was when you used to go to concerts all the time. That's gone up much more. Whereas the price of the merchandise has more or less doubled. I used to go to concerts for $20.
Yes.
Now concerts are $100.
I know. And I
Right?
think they do that because no one actually pays for CDs anymore, right?
Right.
So,
They're not making any money on music, so they have to make it on the live events.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's crazy. The price of concerts is just astronomical. Honestly, it's nuts.
And sure enough, Jamie's wife bought a T-shirt outside for $20.
Don't get her in trouble.
No, I'm not saying her name, and I'm not going to get her in trouble.
Did you buy a Catfish and the Bottleman t-shirt?
I didn't buy
merchandise?
anything. I did the ticket cost was enough for me,
Yeah.
and I'm glad I went to the show and I enjoyed it. It was nice being outside, and actually we were covered. I didn't even realize. I thought only the band would be covered, but some of the fans were covered, and so it didn't rain. It didn't matter, but there was a nice breeze, and it's better than being cooped up in a stuffy, I
Right.
don't know,
Right.
arena or whatever. Speaking of ticket prices, by the way, On just yesterday and the day before yesterday, Coldplay did 2 shows in Toronto. By the way, at the Rogers Centre, not at the Air Canada Centre.
Okay.
And I didn't go, but one of my colleagues went. The roof was actually open, which is surprising because they rarely open the roof. But apparently the CN Tower, the lighting on the CN Tower was incorporated into the show, so the roof had to be open.
Oh, wow.
But here's what's interesting. The first show, originally they were only going to do 1 show, but then because tickets sold out so quickly, they added a second show.
Okay.
Do you want to guess how much tickets to the Coldplay concert were, face value?
$150 at least, no?
$500.
That's nuts.
It is nuts. And then the second show, apparently, it didn't sell out. So what they did was they had this offer that tickets were like half price.
Right.
Because they wanted to sell it out.
$250, a bargain.
And it eventually, I think it did sell out, but only because they dropped the ticket prices for the second show. But I'm not paying $500 to see any band.
No, I agree, especially Coldplay. I mean,
So,
nothing wrong with Coldplay. I have some of their music on my phone, but I mean, I'm not a huge fan.
yeah, same with me.
Whenever the debate comes up, Coldplay or Radiohead, it's always Radiohead for me.
Okay. I didn't know that debate came up that often.
I think it's a thing.
Okay.
Or maybe for me it is.
Okay. I got nothing else.
Okay, me too. Great talking to you.
Awesome.
So just to remind everybody to, if you're listening for the first time, to please subscribe to our podcast. You can do so on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or Google Play Music. If you go to our website, skipandjosh.com, you'll see all the subscribe links. And also, you can just search Skip and Josh podcast pretty much on anywhere where you find podcasts, And if you are on the Apple Podcasts, to please remember to go into the review section and give us a positive review and give us a good star rating. We really appreciate that.
So one thing I forgot to mention, I was listening to, I haven't yet watched the 30 for 30 about Mike and the Mad Dog, but I did listen to the
it's good.
Post-show review or whatever it's called.
Yeah, they did an interview with the director of the movie, right?
Yes. So I did listen to that, and it was interesting. They talked about how they came up with the name of the show, and the director said, well, Mad Dog and Mike just doesn't sound good, so they had to call it Mike and the Mad Dog, which is basically how we came up with our show name.
It's the scientific method.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
all right.
That's all I got.
Speak to you next time.
Okay.
Bye.
The Skip and Josh podcast is over now. Don't worry, there'll be another episode soon.